As we were talking about, perhaps the most shocking political item of the week originated with Chris Littleton, a primary leader of the Tea Party in Ohio. In a blog, you see what he wrote right here. The Tea Party is dead. The protests and rallies which swept the country from 2007 to 2009, those are gone. They're done. The Tea Party dead? To break down This Week in Politics, we're joined by two of the best. Dale Butland, a Democratic strategist, and Bob Clegg, a Republican strategist. Gentlemen, good to see both of you.
Thank you.
Bob, let me start with you.
Sure.
Tea Party dead.
No, I agree with Chairman DeWine.
Why would a
on that.
leader of the Tea Party movement in Ohio?
Well, I think they're getting frustrated because there's not this primary process is on the Republican side is going along, and a lot of the Tea Party activists haven't been able to coalesce around a single candidate. And that, I think, is frustrating some of them. So that's where I'm thinking, you know, he's saying that because he's frustrated. He wants them all to get together, be with either Gingrich or Santorum. It's not happening. But realize the Tea Party was a very loose type organization to begin with. So I don't know how one individual would be able to say that somehow it's dead when he isn't in charge of it. I mean, so I don't quite understand where he's coming from.
Dale, let me ask you, the state of the state was last night.
Don't I get a chance on the Tea Party?
I just wanted to move along. Tea Party very briefly. I mean, Democrats happy the Tea Party may or may not be dead?
If it's not dead, it's got a slow pulse at this point, which is precisely why turnout in every single GOP primary is substantially lower this year than it was in 2008.
Let me ask you about the governor's state of the state. The right tone for the Republican Party. He gave that address yesterday. Is that the tone that Ohio wants to set?
You know, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. This is the headline from today's Cincinnati Enquirer about the governor's state of the state speech. Wackadoodles, Cowtongue, Seinfeld, and his hot wife. The truth of the matter is that Governor Kasich's speech yesterday was an embarrassment. It was self-indulgent. It was unfocused. It proved once again that Governor Kasich not only needs a speechwriter, he needs a teleprompter too, and maybe a gong would be a nice addition as well.
Bob, I'll let you respond.
Well, number one, I think he talked about the issue that everybody cares about, which is jobs, and he had actual, evidence of what he's doing is producing results. So, Dale, I don't understand why that's a problem, except for maybe your side. As far as a teleprompter, we know the president does a great job with a teleprompter there, but I don't think the governor needs to go that route.
Very quickly, we're less than a minute, but let me, Bob, ask you about this internal struggle. Does it mean anything? I mean, is it distracting for Republicans, this internal struggle? Kevin DeWine doesn't like to talk about it. Governor Kasich doesn't like to talk about it, but it's happening.
It's happening, but you know what? Kevin DeWine is focused on Ohio and winning Ohio for our nominee in the fall. Governor Kasich is focused to win Ohio in the fall for our nominee. They both are on the same page. As long as they stay both on that same page, we shouldn't have any problems.
Yeah, the flip side of that, the president has been, according to Gallup, he's now the most divisive president in American history. Is that a problem heading into the fall?
Well, divisive in the sense that we have a very polarized country. But the truth is that every poll, including Washington Post, ABC, just this week, has him beating Romney by 6 points, has his approval rating climbing close to 50%. As for the DeWine-Kasich business, frankly, that's a debate I'd like to see. Forget Romney-Obama. Let's put DeWine and Kasich there.
All right, all right. In just a couple minutes, we're going to premiere our new Two Sides. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All set.
All right, we'll see you both a little later in the program. But coming up on Campaign 2012, we'll take a look at a showdown underway in the 9th District congressional race between Democrats, Dale, Dennis Kucinich and Marcy Kaptur. Super PACs, are they out of control in presidential politics? How should President Obama campaign right here in the Buckeye State? We'll hear Two Sides coming up on Ohio's primetime place for politics. Be right back.
This is ONN's Campaign 2012 with Jim Heath.
Welcome back, everybody. The new 9th Congressional District is a very hot race that's gaining national attention. It's a new district that extends from Cleveland to Lorain to Toledo. That race pits two longtime Ohio Democratic colleagues against each other, Marcy Kaptur and Dennis Kucinich. The new redistricting map has forced these two in the same district. Kucinich is the former mayor of Cleveland and has the Cuyahoga County Democratic Party, along with country music star Willie Nelson. Come on. Behind him, Kucinich sought the Democratic nomination back in 2008. He had flirted with the idea of moving to Washington State to run for a congressional seat there, but decided to stay in Ohio and take on Kaptur in the primary. Marcy Kaptur has the Lorain mayor and much of the Toledo political establishment behind her, plus Toledo is Kaptur's home turf. Just this past week, she received an unlikely endorsement, former Republican Senator George Voinovich, who says she's a better pick than Kucinich. Kaptur, by all accounts, has an edge in this race, but she's campaigning like an underdog. Democrats are also fighting it out in the new 3rd congressional district. That's in central Ohio. This is a district that's been carved for Democrats. The nominee likely to win this seat in the fall. The new 3rd district is located in Franklin County and covers most of Columbus. The four-way battle features Democratic heavyweights, former Congresswoman Mary Jo Kilroy, State Representative Ted Celeste, certainly a famous name in the Democratic circles, former House Minority Leader Joyce Beatty, and Columbus City Councilwoman Priscilla Tyson. We will follow all of these races very carefully in the weeks ahead, but let's get our strategists to weigh in now on a segment we call Two Sides. The ground rules, gentlemen, are pretty simple here. We put 15 seconds up on the clock, put a topic on the table, and let both of you take a whack at it. This is like Twitter for TV, is what I've come up with. From the left, of course, Dale Butland. From the right, Bob Clegg. And Dale, let's put the time up here. Let me just ask you, who has an edge in this 9th district congressional race, Marcy Kaptur or Dennis Kucinich?
Well, first of all, the district is ridiculous thanks to Bob's party's ridiculous gerrymandering of this thing. Goes from Cleveland to Toledo. The only way to make it contiguous is with a bridge or a boat. Marcy Kaptur has the edge because there are more of her old district in this race than there are Dennis's. But one thing I've learned, never count out Dennis Kucinich.
All right, Bob.
What Dale's too kind to say is the fact that Kaptur comes across as the more stable individual here because Kucinich is pretty much a nutcase and has been for years. So that's where I think she's going to have the edge because I think she just comes across so much more credible than he does.
All right, new topic, Central Ohio. Let's talk about the 3rd congressional race here. Beatty, Kilroy, Celeste, and Tyson. From a Republican standpoint.
I think what's going to happen is Kilroy's going to win that. I don't think anybody has raised enough money to be able to fight her name ID that she's had because she's run, what, 3 times already?
Republicans concede that district?
I think it's pretty much a Democrat district, and I think the winner of the primary is pretty much going to be the congressman from that district.
District 3?
I agree that Mary Jo has the edge. She's run 3 times, spent a lot of money there. When the Republicans set the primary date as March 6th, that gave her another leg up because there's not enough time to catch her. I will say that in terms of conceding, I'm delighted they're willing to concede that. They've redistricted this so there are 12 safe Republican seats, 3 safe Democratic, and a 50-50 state.
And that's a problem, Dale?
All right. Don't make me penalize your time.
All right.
All right, question 3. Rick Santorum, we talked about at the top of the show. Is the surge real here, and what does his victory say about the Republican Party?
What his sweep yesterday shows is that Mitt Romney has still not been able to close the deal with conservative voters. That's why 3 out of 5 Republican voters say they're not happy with the field and they'd like a new choice. By the way, Mitt Romney hasn't closed the deal with regular voters either. I've never seen anything like this in 30 years of politics.
That's it, Dale.
Time. Bob, take it.
Okay, I think Santorum's doing a great job. I think the problem he has is the fact that Newt Gingrich is still in the race. I think as long as both of them are in there, they're going to split that other Romney vote, and I think Mitt Romney will be in, will then still be the front runner.
All right, along the same line, new topic here, slightly different topic. If Governor Kasich endorses Newt Gingrich prior to Super Tuesday, does that save Gingrich's candidacy?
I don't know why I would answer that question because the governor's not going to be endorsing anybody before the primary, so I don't think it really...
If he were.
I think whoever the governor would endorse would be helped by that endorsement, but I don't think he's going to be doing any kind of endorsement of any kind before the March 6th primary.
John Kasich's endorsement would be the kiss of death. He's got a 33% approval rating according to the latest PPP poll this week.
But not among Republicans.
And the point I started,
not among Republicans.
My time here, and you got to give me a couple extra seconds. The point I wanted to make earlier is that 52% of voters say the more they learn about Mitt Romney, the less likely they are to vote for him.
All right, I gave you a couple extra seconds. I didn't have to, but I gave you a couple extra seconds.
All right,
nice. Super PACs destroying presidential candidates in the primaries.
This is ridiculous. We have had 7 Republican primaries, $40 million kicked in by millionaires and billionaires who are not accountable to anybody. Nobody even has to know their identity. We are approaching government by oligarchy. It is damaging to this country and damaging to democracy.
I don't know why the president didn't listen to you, Dale, because the president just endorsed the idea of having a super PAC for his own campaign. So I don't know what's so bad about it if he thinks it's a great idea. I think this is, people having a voice. The U.S. Supreme Court said they could, so this is what we have.
Hold this topic if we can. 15 more seconds. I want you to respond to that. Why did the president jump on the super PAC bandwagon?
Because Democrats do not believe in unilateral disarmament. As long as the Republicans have these kinds of things with literally tens of millions of dollars going into them, Obama has no choice. But I go back and say again, this is damaging to our democracy. We've got to stop it. The Supreme Court decision that allowed this is going to go down as a fundamentally wrong decision.
But the president is also the first person to run for president that didn't take public funding because he wanted to raise unlimited amounts of money, as much as he humanly possibly could.
From small contributors.
Oh, but let's raise hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's why he has $1 billion. Oh, please.
All right,
That's
all
where
right.
they come from,
Bundlers.
Bob.
What about the
That's
bundlers? What about the bundlers? What about Wall Street bundlers?
All right, we're completely out of control here. Auto industry coming back. The governor takes credit for that, Bob. President Obama's taking credit for it. He's up first. I mean, who takes credit for the
Well,
rebirth of the auto industry?
if the auto industry is going to expand, they have a lot of places they can do it. They chose to expand here in Ohio. One of the first things the governors did was go into all the big automakers and say, hey, we're open for business. This was something they didn't get from the last governor we had, which is why we lost hundreds of thousands of jobs.
If it were up to Bob Clegg and Mitt Romney, this country would not have an auto industry. At the time of the rescue, Romney wrote an op-ed piece, said, let Detroit go bankrupt. But that rescue saved 1.4 million jobs up and down the supply chain. We've had 170,000 new jobs created since, and just last week, GM has overtaken Toyota, the #1 auto manufacturer in the world.
All right,
We also had to spend billions of taxpayer dollars.
New topic. Both Romney and, see it on the card here, both Romney and Obama have discussed, or have difficulties, they've discussed it, but they have difficulties with the middle class. Who wins this fight for the middle class in the fall?
Obama does not have difficulty with the middle class. Mitt Romney is coming off as the poster child for the 1%. He doesn't like poor people, he likes to fire people, and he pals around with Donald Trump. Give me a break.
Okay, the president's got problems, obviously. He thinks middle-class people are bitter, clingers, and are too religious. He hung out with a pastor who said anti-America rants, and he hung out with people who tried to blow up the Pentagon. That sounds like a normal person.
Old, Bob. That's last campaign.
It's still there.
4 years ago,
Ring the bell.
Bob. It
There,
didn't
the
work
bell
then,
rang.
it's not
The
gonna
bell
work
rang.
now.
Bob, the president can afford to write off Ohio and still receive easily 270 electoral votes.
No, he can't write anything off because right now he is struggling to get above 50% in Ohio. He's struggling to get above 50% in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. He's struggling all over because he doesn't have a record that he can run on.
Dale,
The
Ohio.
president could win without Ohio, but he's not going to have to win without Ohio. He's going to win Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. As a matter of fact, the latest poll, Washington Post, ABC News, shows him with a 6-point lead on Romney nationwide. That's only going to increase in my
Boy,
judgment.
that's gigantic.
All right, we are simply, I believe, out of time. Oh, we can do, hey, we have a bonus question. You ready for this last one?
Bonus.
It comes to you, Dale. Romney's work at Bain Capital, we've heard so much about it. Newt Gingrich has raised it. Will it be a major issue against him in the fall?
Yeah, I think it will because it's been raised by Republicans, not by Democrats. I think Americans admire old-fashioned capitalists, come up with a good idea, make a lot of money selling it. What they don't admire is Gordon Gekko, and that's what Mitt Romney was for a good part of his time at Bain.
Well, I'll tell you what they're not going to admire is the president using taxpayer dollars, millions of taxpayer dollars, in venture capital schemes like Solyndra, where he's paying off his contributors. That's what they're not going to like.
All right, 5 more seconds.
Okay. He's going to lose.
He'll
Gentlemen,
win.
thank
Last
you.
word.
Coming up, some final thoughts, and we'll read some of your comments from social media when Campaign 2012 continues. Always wanted to do this, too. Be right back.